Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cap point. Like, that's one of the most disturbing things I believe that Commander Fravor said when he gave testimony about the 2004 Nimitz encounter to Congress. Now, a cap point is a combat air patrol point, and it's basically like a pre-agreed place. Think of it like a set of coordinates, like geographical coordinates, where the planes are going to regroup during the exercise. This is information that would be guarded, of course, because these are like exercises for plan, for actual deployments. So when Commander Fravor says that the controller on the Nimitz reports this to him after they encountered the Tic Tac originally, and it zooms away 60 miles away to be accurate, like in under a minute or a minute, it's quite disturbing because how did it know about the cap point? Like, what are the odds that this particular object, the Tic Tac, which is, by the way, the size of a school bus, right, or the size of a jet, like it's huge. How was it aware of the exact location, the geographical coordinates where the planes were going to regroup? Like, that's information that's guarded. And obviously, people are going to say, well, it's advanced technology. We're talking about something that literally they saw dropping from space, something that's outside the capabilities of anything that we have right now in the United States inventory. Or that actually that's what the pilots are telling us. So automatically the question becomes, does the Tic Tac also possess some type of algorithm, like is able to like break decrypted information? Or did it monitor, Commander Fravor's team and it knew exactly where they're going to regroup for this exercise? And how would it have known that Commander Fravor's team was going to show up and engage with it? So the question really becomes, is the Tic Tac able to read people's mind? And this is high strangeness. I would say it's one of the observables when it comes to UAPs and UFOs. There's always like an aura of weirdness that happens when people engage with UAP or UFOs, right? Be it lost time or not really sure of how the events took place. A lot of times they actually say that the crafts disappear. They don't really or sometimes they go straight up into the sky. So the Tic Tac knowing the cap point where the team was going to regroup tells me that that's high strangeness right there, because it points to the fact that the Tic Tac could read their minds. And automatically I understand, why is this one of the things that they're really amplifying when it comes to UAPs? And it's because in order to actually tackle this subject, they've made it really grounded. They're talking about this. UAPs are important because of national security. We hear that UAPs are important because, of flight safety, which are all true. But the truth is, in order to make UAP something that's digestible for the public and to bring it to government and that, ask for disclosure, they've had to make it much more grounded. And the only way to do that is to exclude a lot of the weird parts of the phenomenon, right? Like the cattle mutilations, the abductions, the crop circles. These are all things that are related in the phenomena. But in order to bring UAP to the forefront, digestible for people, you got to remove things that are just too weird, right? And I feel like that's why they made UAP all about safety. And they didn't engage with the fact that, hey, it's possible that this thing was actually reading their minds. Because every UAP event where somebody does come in contact with some type of craft or object, it's a very subjective story. And it's very hard to remove the event from the people who encountered it. So in this case, I find it quite bizarre that the Tic Tac knew where the cap point was. Why would it know something that's so, let's say, trivial to a regular person, but very specific to Commander Fravor's team? And it was aware of that. How would it know that Commander Fravor's team is going to show up and engage with it? How would it pre-monitor the situation and be aware of the specific cap point? Maybe Commander Fravor's team never showed up and engaged with the Tic Tac. So why would it know that information? So the conclusion that I would jump to, right, and we're jumping to conclusions here, is that it engaged with them on a mental state. Because the details about the cap point I find really interesting because it also kind of makes some things clear about the event. A lot of people think that the Tic Tac might have been some type of insect, in the sense that it might have had an insect mind, maybe it was a living object, right? Or a living thing. And it was just mirroring Commander Fravor because Commander Fravor was coming down like this and it was meeting him like this, insect intelligence, maybe like an animal. But the fact that it knew about the cap point, it kind of then tells me that this is something way beyond an insect mind or an animal mind. This is something that's aware, not just aware, but it knows context, because it knows that the cap point is relevant to Commander Fravor. And by showing up at the specific point, it tells them, hey, I know something about you, or I one-upped you in a sense. So I find that quite disturbing because it not just only speaks of intelligence, it knows context with that intelligence. And it's actually engaging with the people that it's engaging with. So it knows the subject. So I find that part, that detail is not spoken of enough in the whole The whole Nimitz encounter is incredible, right? Again, you're talking about stuff that drops from space, the technology that we can't even fathom. At the same point, it disappears 60 miles away. So it's all amazing. But that part alone also, I think it's a little nugget that's easy to disregard. But when you really give it thought, you realize that this is probably more fantastical than it even sounds. So what do you guys think? Put it in the comments. Did you ever give thought to that particular part of the story? And do you think that it means that, it is possible of reading the subject's mind? That's what was happening at that point. Or do you just fall back to the more scientific explanation that this thing decrypted their communication somehow? Or it was monitoring their fleet, which I don't see the point of that. Like, why was this object that doesn't know it's going to engage with this particular object be monitoring it? But anyway, put it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. As always, this is the Tone Show. Tone Show.